Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of Inside the Dome. I'm John Dodaro, and we got another episode of Under the Lights here for you all, where we will talk about all of the top news in the sports world over the past week. But I will say, I thought going into this episode, there wouldn't be as much to talk about because I did last week's episode literally about 4 days ago. So I thought, okay, this is going to be a short week. There's not going to be much to talk about. Do some predictions here and there. But there is some news to talk about in this episode. So this will probably be a normal length episode. But we're not covering the past 7 days. We're probably only covering the past 4 or 5 days. But there was something big that happened over the weekend. I personally expected it, but it is technically big. So we'll get into that. We'll probably start with that. But there's a little bit of NFL. We'll do our predictions for the NBA and NHL round 3. So the conference finals, some of those games have begun already. Most notably, the Spurs and Thunder have already happened. But I already made my predictions before that. There's some WWE predictions we have to do because Saturday night's main event is this weekend. So that's obviously kind of exciting, but not fully. Though the PLE after that, the week after that, is a lot more exciting. Some, not exactly UFC, but some mixed martial art fighting discussion to have as well. So it'll be a decent episode, hopefully. So let's get into the big news that happened. I believe this was on Saturday. This news broke over the weekend. Aaron Rodgers is signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 1-year deal worth about $22 million. And I believe that's more than he got last year with the Steelers. Definitely more, I would say. Last year he signed on a 1-year deal. Yeah, he signed last year $13.65 million contract, which included $10 million guaranteed and was worth up to $19.5 million with incentives. So that was the deal Rodgers got last year. He signed that deal on June 6th, so this is happening way earlier. So this year, he signed a 1-year deal worth up to $25 million. So it's a $22 million deal with, it could go up to $25 million with incentives. So he's getting paid more this year. He's reuniting with Mike McCarthy. I think this was expected. I really have just been going into these weeks with the Steelers anticipating Aaron Rodgers was going to sign again. I think the fact that it took him this long to think about if he was retiring or not made me think that he was just going to re-sign. I feel like if he was going to retire, he would have said it way earlier. But it went this long, and he signed. And I'm very happy that he signed earlier than last year, because OTAs just began. Those are the practices, the team practices, and Rodgers is already practicing with the team. So he's starting early. That's always a benefit because it's a new system, even though it could be similar to what he did in Green Bay with Mike McCarthy. But it's not the Arthur Smith offense anymore, so you got to get a hold of that. You got some new receivers, Michael Pittman Jr., Jeremy Bernard to throw to as well. So I'm happy that he signed early, and I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued because last season he had a good season. 3,300 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Was definitely not the reason why the Steelers mainly lost. Now, is there confidence that he's going to take the Steelers to the Super Bowl? I don't know, but he's definitely the best option because if you did not get Rodgers, first off, you signed nobody else. You did not sign a Kirk Cousins. You did not sign a Joe Flacco, just any kind of veteran that could play. You signed nobody. So if you didn't get Rodgers, you would have went into the season with Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, and Drew Aller. I don't think Mason Rudolph would be starting, but I'm not confident that Drew Aller or Will Howard could be the starter week 1. So this makes sense. But now, with Aaron Rodgers as the starter, he's getting paid as a starter, so he is the starter. There's no quarterback competition for the starter. The quarterback competition is for the backup job, which is interesting because last year there really was no competition. It was Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. Will Howard got injured during preseason. So it was really just Skylar Thompson, and if he could make the team, which I think he did initially, but that didn't last long. The big question is who's going to be the backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers did miss one game last year, and Mason Rudolph had to come in and start and lost. So the question is, who's the backup? I would think that one of Drew Aller or Will Howard could win that job, and then Mason Rudolph could be a cut candidate so you can save some money because he's definitely the most costly of the three backups right now. So in a perfect world, you're able to cut Mason Rudolph, and one of Drew Aller or Will Howard is the backup. Whoever wins it in camp wins it. And whoever wins that, hopefully, could maybe be the quarterback of the future. Who knows? I think if Mason Rudolph is on the final 53-man roster as the backup quarterback, then I think it's probably not a good sign for either Drew Aller or Will Howard if neither of them could beat out Mason Rudolph or at least get close to his level of being a backup quarterback. I think something might be wrong in terms of one of those two being the franchise quarterback of the future. Because I think if you want to be the franchise quarterback of the future, you should be able to be on the level of Mason Rudolph at the bare minimum. So it's no diss to Mason Rudolph. It's just he's kind of a backup quarterback in this league. He's not a starter. So nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's not very encouraging if Aller or Howard cannot be that backup. So that's going to be the top storyline, I think, of training camp and preseason is who wins between Aller and Howard. I mean, if you're keeping Mason Rudolph, then one of those two would be sent to the practice squad, and I don't think that would be Drew Aller. So it would probably mean Will Howard, and I wonder how Steelers fans would react to that. But I think Mason Rudolph, if I had to predict right now, I think he will be cut, maybe traded, but probably cut during preseason. And if I had to guess who wins the backup job right now, Drew Aller. I mean, he's the guy that this Mike McCarthy-led team drafted. So that's my prediction right now. But it's going to be exciting, and hopefully Aaron Rodgers can help one of those two or both of them learn. And ideally, after the Steelers win the Super Bowl this season, and if Aaron Rodgers goes off into the sunset, one of Will Howard or Drew Aller looks like they could potentially lead this team going forward, and the Steelers don't have to draft a quarterback next year. Thing is, though, I would not be surprised if the Steelers still drafted a quarterback next year because, first off, you're not entitled to Will Howard. He's a 6th-round pick. But you're also not entitled to Drew Aller as well. He's only a 3rd-round pick. I've seen 1st-round picks get shorter leashes. Anyway, I mean, look at Trey Lance. He was the 3rd overall pick, and once they got a taste of Brock Purdy, they didn't care at all about Trey Lance anymore. So anything can happen. So no job is safe. You invest whatever you need to invest to get a franchise quarterback, and next year's class is loaded. So if you're Aller or Howard, you need to show out this preseason. You really do. You need to show that you could potentially be the guy so that they don't have to waste draft capital on your replacement next year. So it's going to be a really intriguing quarterback competition. I heard they're reprogramming Drew Aller right now in terms of his mechanics. And his mechanics, I guess, have never been great at Penn State. Good job, James Franklin. But it's interesting. I don't think it's like any cause for alarm. But, I mean, Drew Aller, I think, has an insanely high ceiling. But I think this is necessary. So there's also a big test for Mike McCarthy, supposedly the QB guru. So this is your chance. You got 2 prospects on your team. One of them won a national championship. One of them has all the traits in the world. If you can make one of them work, then that's a great sign of confidence. So on the bright side, though, you don't need to worry about that as the season goes along because Aaron Rodgers will be your starter. But if Aaron Rodgers is to go down, he's old. I mean, he is old. He dealt with some injuries during last season. He is 42 years old. He'll be 43 at the end of the season. So you got to worry about your backup quarterback. It is important, but hopefully one of them or both of them can beat out Mason Rudolph, and you can save some money there by cutting Mason Rudolph. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But Aaron Rodgers signing is the best case scenario for the Steelers winning right now. I mean, he has chemistry with guys like DK Metcalf already, and I think he's still got it. But will they win a Super Bowl? I don't know. But the thing is, too, is it's going to be different because last year it was Arthur Smith calling plays for Aaron Rodgers and the Arthur Smith system. Now it's the Mike McCarthy system, and Aaron Rodgers has a lot of experience with that, so we'll see how much of that shows up, essentially, over the years. I mean, he coached, Mike McCarthy coached Aaron Rodgers for pretty much his whole career, until the last couple years when Matt LaFleur came into the mix. So that's when Aaron Rodgers had his MVP years at the end. He had 2 under McCarthy, but his 2020 and 2021 years were under Matt LaFleur. So just something to consider. But it's Mike McCarthy. He's had a lot of great success with him. So it'll be interesting to watch. I can't wait for it. But I think this was expected, though. I think I've said it on the podcast. If I had to bet if Aaron Rodgers was going to retire or sign with the Steelers, I would have said he would sign with the Steelers. So I'm not surprised at all that this happened. And it will make training camp, preseason, very interesting going forward. But Aaron Rodgers is the starter. Don't think otherwise. Some other interesting things with the Steelers is their offensive line. It's kind of taken a flip lately with the current starters. The current starters are Troy Fautanu at left tackle, Mason McCormick moving to left guard. Then you got Zach Frazier. Then you got Spencer Anderson at right guard and Dylan Cook at right tackle. So the only reason why I say that is surprising is because the right side flipped to the left side and the left side flipped to the right side. So it's interesting. Is that going to be the whole thing? I don't know. The question is with the O-line is Broderick Jones. Is he healthy? Is he not? Because you drafted Max in the first round, who would probably be our right tackle. So I think that's why they're moving Troy Fautanu to left tackle. So ideally, Max can start over Dylan Cook. You would want your first round offensive tackle to be a starter, I would assume. But I think if Broderick Jones is not healthy, Troy Fautanu would play left, Max would play right, and I guess Spencer Anderson would go the right side if that's his natural spot. And I guess if Mason McCormick did play college at left guard, so he's been playing right guard. So maybe him moving to the left is a better fit. And you do have Jennings Dunker, who you drafted. So he's currently listed third on the ESPN depth chart. So it's not encouraging, but it's early. But it'll be something to watch. I think that guard spot that was held by Sayamalo Isaac, who is now on the Arizona Cardinals, that's the biggest hole on the O-line, which is someone not being proven. But it'll be interesting if Broderick Jones is healthy, what happens. Because Max should be playing. He's a first-round pick. But it'll be interesting to see with Broderick Jones and his health. But so far, Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is back. So that storyline is over. There's really no other storylines with the Steelers aside from who's starting. But that's a training camp problem. So Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers. And I believe the other big news is that the NFL draft in 2028 is going to Minneapolis. So that should be fun if you live up there. 2027 is going to DC. Should be fun. Won't be there. I've done enough drafts already. One was enough. But I think that was the other big news. Let's move on to the NBA. Now, I talked about a lot of the series earlier last week. So there's not a lot I think I need to discuss here with the previous matchups without being redundant, other than the fact that the Pistons lost to the Cavaliers. That was the one series I did not mention. I had the Pistons winning in 6. The Cavs won in 7. This game happened on Sunday. The Cavs killed the Pistons 125-94. I mean, if you're Detroit, you are trending upwards after being a dumpster fire for years, and the Pistons are now competitive. But I kind of saw the writing on the wall when they kind of struggled against the Magic. They went to 7 in that. Now they went to 7 against the Cavs. I mean, the series could have gone either way because Game 6 was a blowout. The Pistons blew out the Cavs. But Game 7, the Cavs blew out the Pistons. So, series could have gone either way, but it sucks though because if you were in Detroit and you had to watch a blowout in Game 7, you probably wasted your money right there. But the Cavs won. James Harden had a terrible game, but Donovan Mitchell went off with 26. Mobley and Allen had 20s each. Merrill had 23 off the bench. Detroit, the positive is they should be competitive. They're probably missing a piece or two, but other than that, they should be competitive, hopefully, in years to come. In terms of Cleveland, I'll do my predictions right now. I don't know if Cleveland's got it. I mean, they could. They really could, but I like the Knicks a lot. I think the Knicks have a great starting five. Deuce, who plays for the Knicks, Deuce McBride, love him, WVU legend. I'm going to say the Knicks win. Now, the Knicks are the home team as well, so they'll have more home games. But I'm going to say the Knicks win. I like Jalen Brunson more. You got Cat, you got Bridges, and Anunoby, who should be back soon as well. I think the Cavs have just been a little too inconsistent as well. So I like the Knicks. The Knicks know how to finish games as well. So the only question is the Knicks had to play the Hawks round 1, which I don't think was impressive. And they nearly were choking that series, but I think the Philly series gave them some confidence. So, I mean, they killed the Phillies. And the Sixers. Oh my God, I've been saying the Phillies. I mean, they are a Philly team, and it is baseball season, and I've been watching baseball. The Sixers. They got Embiid, they got Maxey. I think they're a decent test, but I like the Knicks a little bit more. I got the Knicks winning in 6. I think the Cavs will take 2 games, but I got the Knicks in 6. But here's the thing. I think whoever wins the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they will lose to whoever comes out of the West. I think whoever wins the West will win it all. And that was the same thing I was saying in the NFL. Whoever won in the West between the Rams and the Seahawks would win the Super Bowl, and that happened. So I think it's very similar here. With the Spurs and the Thunder, this is the NBA championship right here, in my opinion. Especially after Game 1. And I made my pick before Game 1, so there's no bias here or anything. Game 1 was incredible. And I was watching Game 1 while Game 7 in hockey was happening. That was a great combo right there. And Victor Wembanyama is absolutely insane. He's a generational talent. We've known that. But in year 3, he's looking like an MVP player. He's looking like one of the best players in the NBA. He probably is. In some people's eyes, the best player in the NBA. He's one of the best defensive players. I mean, he's 7'4", and he's got freakish athleticism. He can block any shot. He's won Defensive Player of the Year already. So, I mean, that's scary. When you have a guy 7'4" and moves the way he does, can shoot 3-pointers, took a logo shot in this game to keep them alive. I mean, Wembanyama is everything you want in a player. And a 7'4" player. He's a great defender, great shooter, fantastic speed and athleticism. He's everything you want in a player. No wonder why teams tanked for him that year. But he had 41 points, 24 rebounds in this game, 3 blocks as well. But he's just been incredible. One of the main reasons why the Spurs won Game 1. And he's got a great supporting cast, too. Castle, Harper as well. He's got some help. So it's not like it's just him doing everything. But he did play 49 minutes in this game. So you wonder if the time will take a toll on him. Because I think the Thunder have more depth. Like, Shea played 51 minutes. So it's not like Victor was the only one who played so many minutes. But I think the Thunder still have better depth. So you wonder if going to double overtime could hurt the Spurs in the long run. If this is going to be a grueling series and you're going to double overtime playing 50 minutes, Is that going to take a toll on Wemby and the Spurs? That's my question. So that's why I had the Thunder winning in 7. That's my prediction. I think this is going to go all the way. I think both of these teams are pretty even, but I like the Thunder depth a lot more. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just won the MVP. He only had 24 points. It was not his best game. 7 of 23 shooting, but he did have 12 assists. Caruso off the bench. Well, always a great defender. They have him on Wemby at sometimes. He's only 6'5", and they have him on Wemby, who's 7'4", but he had 31 points, made 8 3-pointers. He was used massively in the clutch minutes, along with Mitchell. Who else did they use? Chet Holmgren was used a lot in those overtimes, and Jalen Williams was used a lot as well. Those were kind of the 5 once they got to OT. Lou Dort and Hardenstein kind of hit the bench a bit in the overtime periods. But their depth, I think, is probably what will help them in a 7-game series potentially. I mean, you got McCain off the bench. Mitchell's off the bench now that Jalen Williams is back. Wallace, Wiggins is still there. Caruso, the other Jalen Williams as well. Like, they got players on that bench, man, along with a great starting 5. I think the Thunder are just built for a series like this. The Spurs could easily still win. They easily still can, especially if Wemby is putting up these performances. But I think this is going to be a fantastic series. I'm saying it right now. Like, I think this is the NBA Finals. Whoever wins this, I am probably going to take to win the whole thing, and I think will win the whole thing. I don't think the Knicks or the Cavs can keep up. I think both of those teams are too inconsistent. I think the Spurs or the Thunder will win it all. So I have the Thunder in 7. I'm kind of rooting for the Spurs. I'd like to see a new team win, but I think the Thunder will win in 7. I think this will be a fantastic series. Probably the series to watch in the NBA. So their next game is on Wednesday. This episode I'm dropping on Tuesday. So the Cavs and Knicks are tonight. And the Knicks are favored minus 7.5. That's crazy. But yeah, I think the Spurs and Thunder will be the better matchup. In terms of my predictions, I got the Knicks right, but I was 2 games off. I had the Knicks in 6. Spurs in 5. I was 1 game off. Pistons in 6. I was wrong. Thunder in 5. I was 1 game off. So that was also the Thunder's first loss in the playoffs, too. They swept their past 2 opponents. So finally fell back down to earth a little bit. But it was close. It was a close game. For a while, the Spurs looked like they had it won, but then for a while, it looked like the Thunder had it won. I think this is going to be a great series. Let's move to I think there's nothing else to talk about. Last week, I talked about the draft. I hate the draft. Or the lottery. I hate the lottery. And the draft. So, if you want to hear my thoughts on that, that was last week. I don't think there was any other big news. There's some more Giannis trade rumors, but I think I talked about that last week as well. NHL. Oh boy. While this fantastic game 1 was happening, there was a fantastic game 7 happening in the NHL on Monday between the Canadiens and the Sabres. I could have went 4 for 4 in predictions. I had the Hurricanes winning in 5. I was 1 game off. I had the Avalanche winning in 6. I was 1 game off. I had the Golden Knights winning in 6, and I got that perfectly correct. And then there was the Sabres. And I'm not going to talk about the other 3 because I think I talked about all of them last week. But the Sabres. I had the Sabres in 7. The Sabres won yesterday. I would have had that perfectly correct. But fortunately, the Canadiens won in overtime, 3-2 in Buffalo. It was a weak shot by Newhook. It was like a basic shot. I wouldn't call it a weak shot, but like a basic shot where the goalie might have just been screened and missed it. It's a killer of a goal. Like, it was just a random shot you take. That's why, like, in hockey, you just got to keep shooting it. Who knows what will go in? But you just got to get shots on net. That's exactly what happened here with Newhook. He took a shot. It might have been a perfect screen, unintentional, but it went through glove side on the goalie, and the Canadiens move on in the playoffs. If you're Buffalo, though, you can't be mad. I mean, you had a fantastic season. You got to the second round. Canadians, Sabres 7. I mean, I think you would like to have moved on because, I mean, the game before you won 8-3. So that ideally could have been some good momentum for Game 7 in Buffalo, and you lost in front of your fans. So I don't know. It sucks for the Sabres, though. I was kind of rooting for them. I don't really want to root for Montreal, but Sabres, good season. But Canadians are on their own little underdog run as well, so it'll be interesting to see. There is not a game until Wednesday, and the game that we got is the Golden Knights and the Avalanche. The Avalanche, I think, have lost only one game in these playoffs so far, and the Golden Knights have been pretty steady themselves. I have the Avalanche winning in 6. I think the Avalanche are the more consistent team. I think they're the best all-around team right now, though they may have some goalie questions, so Golden Knights could be able to exploit that. This is not the NBA situation, though, where I think the winner of the West wins it all. I think the Carolina Hurricanes have a fantastic chance, now more than ever, to win a Stanley Cup. They have a chance. I think this is their best chance to win a Stanley Cup over the past, 5, 6, 7 years. I think this is their best chance. They've been close a bunch of times where they've lost in this round multiple times. I think this is their best chance to go all the way. I really think it's their best chance. I think the Stanley Cup Finals matchup will be really tough for the Hurricanes, but I think this is the Hurricanes' best chance to win it all. This is their chance. It really is. I have the Avalanche winning in 6. I have the Hurricanes winning in 5. I think Montreal is good. Carolina, I don't think, has lost a game these playoffs as well. So, yeah, they swept the Flyers and they swept another Canadian team in the Senators. So the Hurricanes have yet to lose a game. I think they're too good. I think Montreal doesn't stand a chance. I think the Hurricanes will win in 5. I think the Avalanche Golden Knights series will be closer. Could go to 7. Who knows? But I think I have the Avalanche winning in 6. So those are my predictions. I think the Avalanche and Hurricanes as a Stanley Cup final matchup would be fantastic. It would be great TV. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. While I think in the NBA, I think the Spurs and the Thunder is the NBA Finals matchup, where if the Knicks or Cavs win, I don't expect much. I just don't. I really don't. So that's my NHL predictions. The first NHL game is on Wednesday between the Golden Knights and the Avalanche. And then it's every day there's a different matchup. Literally, I think it's every single day for the NHL there is a matchup. Whether it's Golden Knights Avalanche or the Hurricanes and Canadians. It will go all the way, if needed, to June 2nd. Every single day there will be a game of hockey starting on Wednesday until the Stanley Cup Finals are determined. For the NBA, is it similar? It is, yes, it is similar. There will be a game on every day until Sunday, May 31st. I believe that's what it said before I clicked out. Yes, Sunday, May 31st, there will be a game of NBA every single day until the NBA Finals are determined. The NBA Finals start June 3rd. So, exciting time for playoffs. There will be a game every day for the NHL and the NBA. Gotta love it. Best time to be a sports fan, potentially. Wow, all that is happening. Baseball is also on, and I was pretty confident with the Pirates last week, and that was right before the Phillies series, so everything I said with the Pirates aged terribly because they had a bad stretch against the Phillies. Got swept straight up, and no other games have happened since. They're starting their series against the Cardinals tonight. But the Pirates, after I praised them dearly after beating the Rockies 2-1, they decide to pull up a stinker against Philly. The most notable part of this stinker was the first game that the Pirates easily should have won. It's actually embarrassing how they lost. When Braxton Ashcraft left the game, he only gave up 3 runs. Technically 4 because Mason Montgomery gave up a 2-run homer. So one of those, I think, was counted Ashcraft. But Ashcraft left with the lead. It was 8-3 when he walked away from the mound. Then it went to 8-4. So you just got to defend that. Or 8-5, I should say. It was 8-5 by the time we got to the ninth. Great batting game from the Pirates. Cruz had 2 hits. Lau had 2 hits, including 2 home runs. It was a Brandon Lau legacy game for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he blew it. He didn't blow it. Somebody else blew it, who I'm about to say. Reynolds had 2 hits. O'Hearn had a run. Ozuna had 2 RBIs. Horwitz had 2 hits. It was a fantastic game for the bats, for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then all we needed was Gregory Soto, who has been a great closer for the Pirates this season, to just not allow 3 runs. Can walk away home happily. Guess what he did? He gave up 3 runs. Off of 2 hits, he gave up 3 runs. Of course. Gregory Soto, he's been so good for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And when we need him to just not give up 3 runs, he gives up 3 runs. So then we go to extra innings. I know we score a run, but they score 4 runs. Dennis Santana, who we thought was going to be our closer at the start of the year, was our closer and then has regressed significantly and now is no longer the closer. He put the icing on the cake, got the loss, gave up 3 runs on 4 hits. Blew the game even more. So our 2 supposed closers blew this game against the Phillies. And the Pirates couldn't make up for it. When you have 9 runs, you should not be losing baseball games. Especially when you're up 8-5 going into the 9th. You should not be blowing that. They did. And that's a humiliating loss. And I think that carried over into the weekend where it got worse. Because then the Pirates couldn't hit the ball for the rest of the weekend. They really couldn't. The only people that hit the ball was Connor Griffin, who had 2 hits, and Brian Reynolds, who had 2 hits. And Nick Gonzalez had 2 hits. Nobody else got a hit. Nobody got a run. It was bad. It was a bad Saturday game. In terms of pitching, Bubba Chandler, yeah, he's 1-5. I like Bubba Chandler. I think he'll be a good pitcher in the future. In terms of the right now, he is struggling. I will say. He is struggling. It's sad to see, but it was a tough matchup, and the Pirates, at the same time, though, when you have 0 runs, when you can't hit the ball, you can't score any runs, it's hard to even be mad at the pitcher pitching, because if you couldn't even hit the baseball, then, who cares? Bubba Chandler could have given up 1 run. It could have been a 1-0 game, and it still would have been a loss for Bubba Chandler. So it's hard to be that mad at Chandler for his performance because the Pirates could not hit the ball that game. But that was a bad game. It really was. The bullpen actually didn't do bad. Chandler gave up the runs. Then it became a big bullpen game because Chandler only pitched 3 innings. They only gave up 1 run beyond that. And that was at the end of the game, pretty much. So, honestly, the bullpen was not bad that game. It was Bubba Chandler. But then again, the Pirates couldn't hit the balls, so it can't be that mad. Sunday could have gone any worse. Not really. Well, kind of. Pirates couldn't hit the ball again. Actually, they had pretty much the same amount of hits. Cruz, Lau, Gonzalez, Horwitz, and Griffin all had 1 hit each. But none of that equated to runs. Brandon Lau nearly had a home run, but it was just short of clearing the stands. So it was a double instead. But Pirates couldn't score any runs. Paul Skeens pitched, and he got the L. Skeens actually, until I believe it was the inning he got pulled in the 5th, he was having a fantastic game. It was a classic Paul Skeens game. He was fantastic. Then something happened in the 5th inning, I believe, and he gave up 5 runs, 6 hits. Yeah, it got bad. But here's the thing. You can't be mad at Paul Skeens. You can't say Paul Skeens blew the game when you can't score any runs. Paul Skeens could have given up 1 run, and it wouldn't have made a difference. So Skeens is 6-3. His ERA went up to 2.62, 2.62. So might hurt his Cy Young chances a little bit, but honestly, it wasn't a bad game from Skeens. He just couldn't get any run help, and then that one bad inning he had. So I think he'll shake it off. Literally, once again, the bullpen didn't do as bad after that. They had less innings to pitch. They didn't do that bad. Santana gave up another run. He gave up a home run, but the game was already over at that point. So, sucks to see. It was a terrible series against the Phillies. They at least should have gotten one win out of that series, but they couldn't. So, it hurts. They're one game above 500 right now. They're going into a series with the Cardinals, who the Cardinals last swept the Pirates. Last time they played the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Now they're playing them in St. Louis, where they will play against WVU legend J.J. Weatherholt. Gotta love him. Should be a great series. I'll probably watch every game for J.J. at the bare minimum. But the Pirates need to respond. They got a day off on Monday, so honestly, it was well needed. And hopefully things get better. Who's pitching this game? It is Mitch Keller is expected to pitch Tuesday's game. Keller, his last game was not that good, so he needs a rebound game here. Hopefully this is not the start of a down stretch for the Pirates. Hopefully it was just one series. I mean, the Pirates already had a down stretch when it was against the Cardinals, but then they rebounded nicely after that. Hopefully the bats can fire up a little bit again because they got cold during that Philly series. And hopefully the pitching, a.k.a. the bullpen, doesn't blow another game. It'll be interesting to watch. Next week, when I talk about the Pirates, they would have played the Cardinals and the Blue Jays and would have started their series against the Cubs. So a lot of Pirates baseball this week. So next week will be a great discussion to see how they rebounded or got worse after the Philly series. Let's move on. WNBA, the season has continued. More games have happened. Hopefully you've been watching them if you haven't been watching the other games, aka NBA, NHL. In terms of interesting things, I mean, there aren't many days. The WNBA doesn't even play like every day. Sunday there were games. The Fever won against the Storm. Caitlin Clark's been having a great season so far. She had 21 points against Seattle, a worse Seattle team. The Friday game, though, against Washington in overtime, Caitlin Clark had 32 points in that game, 7 threes. So she's back, easy to say. They had a chance to win that game, multiple chances, and they bricked the 2 threes. I think Kelsey Mitchell missed the last one. But they are 2-2 to start the year. I think there was another exciting game on Sunday. I saw a brief bit of it. The Aces and the Dream. The Aces won with not a full buzzer beater, but a last-second shot by Chelsea Gray. 21 points. 85-84 beat the Dream, led by Angel Reese. Angel Reese shot 1 of 8. Had 9 points, though. 8 rebounds. She had 7 free throws as well. But that was a fun game. Asia Wilson had 45 points, I think, the game before that. So she's starting up for MVP career, or season, I should say. She's already had multiple MVPs. So she's heating up. The day recording this, there's only one game on, and it's not nationally broadcasted. That's unfortunate. Tempo and the Mercury. So that should be interesting. Wednesday, the Fever play against the Portland Fire. It would have been interesting to see that game in Portland because they've been having great crowds for an expansion team. Great to see. But that's when the Fever play again, and that's on the USA Network. So that's the WNBA over the past couple days. When the other sports die down, it'll be easier to watch these games. Other news, before we get to WWE, which usually ends these episodes, there are some other things to discuss. First off, there's a story going around in college football, which has kind of caught my attention, mainly because I know the player. I wrote about him throughout the fall. Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback, who plays for Texas Tech, or played for, because now a lot's getting ugly with him. He played for Indiana, but that's not really where I knew him. I knew him for his time in Cincinnati, where he was their quarterback. He was a good quarterback for Cincinnati. I saw his stats. I was writing about him during that time, and he had a great season. He really did. His latest season was his best. Despite a 7-5 record, Cincinnati was competitive. He had 27 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And he got the chance to go to Texas Tech University. He transferred to Texas Tech. Dude, Texas Tech just won the Big 12. They're a red-hot team. But I think quarterback was one of their biggest issues. And guess what they got now? A quarterback. They got Brendan Sorsby. So everything's looking great. But then things start to look terrible. And by terrible, I mean really terrible. But also controversial, I would say. So, April 27th, 2026, ESPN college football senior writer Pete Thamel reported that Sorsby is under NCAA investigation for sports gambling and would seek treatment. This man, Sorsby, gambled on a lot of things. This is not just a small bet. Sorsby gambled on games. He gambled on his own team while at Indiana, which is that's a big no-no. You don't gamble on the team that you're playing for. And he's filing a lawsuit now against the NCAA in Texas, seeking a temporary injunction that would grant him eligibility for the 2026 season. He's under investigation for gambling violations, including bets he placed on Indiana football while Sorsby was a member of the Hoosiers in 2022. Sorsby says he needs clarity on his collegiate status so that he can apply for the NFL's supplemental draft by late June if his NCAA career is done. Oof. He is currently ineligible to play for Texas Tech due to prior violations of the NCAA sports gambling rules. The lawsuit reads, rather than support a student athlete's recovery from a gambling addiction, the NCAA has weaponized his condition to shore up a facade of competitive integrity, while simultaneously profiting from the very gambling ecosystem it polices. Okay, it's getting interesting. So I think the big thing is he wants clarity so he can enter the supplemental draft if he cannot play, so he can at least do something. He admits to placing small bets on the Indiana football team, typically in amounts between $5 and $50 in 2022. I mean, it's not a lot. When he was a member of the Hoosiers, Sorsby was a true freshman at the time and was competing on the scout team, so he wasn't playing. There was no chance he was able to play. Sorsby said the bets were a way to feel more connected to the team and that he never used non-public information when deciding what bets to place. He lost most of the bets he placed, according to the report. And he appeared in one game as a true freshman, but it states that Sorsby never placed any bets on any Indiana football game that he participated in. And yeah, so he's in rehab, essentially, for a gambling addiction. So he has an addiction. There were other games that he gambled on, too. My thoughts. Well, gambling's not good if you're a player, especially if you're doing it on your team. The only thing, though, is, like, I didn't read up on it fully until I read this. I thought it was more, like, recently, like, on Cincinnati. Like, I personally think, like, if he did the crime and he wasn't caught for years, like, this was years ago, like, why punish him now? Like, if he wasn't gambling in Cincinnati, where he most recently played for the past 2 seasons, like, why does it matter anymore? Like, the crime was done. So, like, is he still doing it? Like, was he doing games on Cincinnati? If no, then, like, what's the problem, personally? But it's obviously a big no-no. These leagues are so strict, mainly the NFL, too. Like, if they catch you gambling, it is a worse crime than, like, abuse or, like, domestic violence. Like, they hate gambling more than they hate domestic violence or sexual assault cases. Like, they suspended Calvin Ridley longer than they suspended Deshaun Watson. Ridley did a gambling thing. Deshaun Watson was accused by 20-plus women. So, yeah, they hate gambling more. These leagues hate gambling more. But he does strike a point in this, Sorsby. I don't know what's going to happen with Sorsby. I doubt it's going to end well for him. because obviously gambling is a big no-no. But he does strike an interesting point. These leagues always promote gambling. DraftKings is like every league's best friend. They're always, if you go on ESPN, they're always telling you about gambling and this bet and this bet. There's always odds that you see. They're now getting into like Polymarket and Kalshi, these other like very broader gambling sites where you can like bet on the weather. You can bet on the Oscars and stuff like that with these other news sites. You can bet on politics. But like these leagues, especially college too, like they promote gambling so much. Gamble, everybody gamble. But if one of our players do it, it's the end of the world. It's a double-edged sword, because if you're so against your like the players gambling, then maybe you shouldn't promote it that much around the league. Because like it's like hovering around nicotine, like hovering it over their heads, like, look at all of this addictive nicotine, but you can't have it, but all of these other people can have it. But look at it, I'm holding it above your head. Look at it. You can't have it, but just look at it and keep looking at it. That's the equivalent to what's happening. They're showing all of this gambling and how you can apply and everything. Here's how you do it. Here's the easy steps. Here's what you should gamble on. Everybody gamble. Everybody do it. Here's where you can do it. Here's a bet you can do. But if you're a player, you can't do it. So I get the hypocrisy. I get it. These leagues really should not be promoting gambling, because even then it just creates uncertainty with the legitimacy of these leagues. If the players aren't gambling, but still, like if the leagues themselves are promoting gambling this much, you still have to question the integrity of it all. Does Vegas make the calls sometimes? Who knows? But that's my thought. Like, I don't think the NCAA or the NFL or any of these leagues should have any kind of moral high ground where it comes to gambling, because they promote it so much. There will always be that one clip, because there was the big scandal in the NBA months ago where there's a string of people caught for gambling illegally, where players were like intentionally missing baskets or whatever, allegedly. But like, all terrible. Like, you can't do that. But the NBA broadcast that was talking about it, or the ESPN broadcast, on the bottom of the screen, it was promoting gambling during the discussion. And then they had to get rid of that graphic during the broadcast. It was just kind of ironic. So that's the thing. You promote gambling so much, it's only a matter of time until somebody in the league will actually do it. So that's just my thought on it. Like, these leagues should just stop promoting gambling this much. It's pretty sad. It pretty is. It is. So that's my thought. I don't know if Swordsby will play again. I don't know. I think the question, though, is like, was it recent or not? But I guess it doesn't matter at the end of the day. So that NBA story was way worse, though. But it's really when it's your own team that you're betting on, that's where it gets ugly. But I don't think the NCAA has any moral high ground in this. So that's my thoughts on it. There was not a UFC, but a fight that happened over the weekend that I completely forgot about, but it did happen. It was a Netflix event where Ronda Rousey returned to fight Gina Carano, who I don't really know much about her until I had to look her up. And Gina, was essentially canceled in the Mandalorian show. So she was an actress, and she had controversial views or whatever, and Disney fired her, and then that sparked online outrage, of course. That's the only reason why I knew her, but I knew Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey is one of the best. She had a WWE run where I probably know her more from at this point, but she returned to fighting. And she was fighting Gina Carano at this fight. And I can't really talk much about the event because I didn't watch it in depth. Jake Paul was there a lot. I guess he was behind the event, or one of the people behind the event. oh well, I don't care. But at least this fight in particular, I was gaming during the time, but I had it on my iPad in the corner. I looked at my screen and they were doing introductions. I think they were finishing the introductions. I looked back to my game for about maybe 30 seconds because I couldn't pause my game, but I looked at my game for like 30 seconds. I looked at that TV and I looked back to see the fight and they were hugging. And I was like, wait, what? Like, are they hugging before the fight? Like, that's odd. You don't hug before a fight. And then I had to skip back and I was like, holy crap, that fight was 17 seconds. It was literally, I think Gina took down Ronda, tried putting her in a guillotine, and then Ronda Rousey countered with an armbar, her signature armbar. Gina tapped out right away, and then they started hugging. That's why I never would pay to watch a UFC event in person, because you don't know what you're going to get sometimes. Because if I paid to watch Ronda Rousey in that fight and I was there in person, I would have been mad disappointed. Like, you could watch the fight online. It was 17 seconds. I don't know. But if Ronda Rousey's back in the long run, I doubt it. But I don't know. The fight was underwhelming. Best way to put it. It really was not anything special. I feel bad for the people that spent money to go there to watch a 17-second fight. But if you're a fan of Ronda Rousey, then it was probably worth it. But that was pretty hilarious. I literally looked away for 30 seconds. I looked back and they're hugging. So, funny stuff. Let's end this episode with WWE news. We've got some predictions to make, but these aren't predictions that we keep track of. We only keep track of PLEs. And Saturday night's main event is not a PLE specifically. But I'll do some quick predictions here for the event. It's happening this Saturday at 8 p.m. And it's on Peacock, so it's confusing always what these things are on. Everything's on ESPN Unlimited or Netflix internationally. But for Saturday night main event, they are still on Peacock. So you have to watch this on Peacock if you have it. There are 5 matches to predict here. I don't know how long the show is. I think the Cena show is longer because it's Cena. But I don't know. But the show's interesting because there's no world title match. For the men or the women, there's no world title match. Cody's defending against Gunther at Clash in Italy, which is the week after. Not this upcoming Sunday, but the next Sunday, which is odd because they're typically on Saturdays, but this is a Sunday afternoon. But Cody's fighting Gunther in Italy. Roman is fighting Jacob Fatu in Italy. And now Tribal Combat is happening. So we'll talk about all this first. Tribal Combat, if you are new to wrestling, happened 2 times. It happened with Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, and it happened with Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa, and Roman Reigns won on both. Tribal Combat is essentially a no disqualification match, but the winner of the match gets the Ula Fala. So the necklace that Roman Reigns wears, the Ula Fala, the red one, is what's up for grabs. And if you have the Ula Fala, you are the tribal chief. You are the head of the table. You are the head of the family at that point. So Jey Uso challenged Roman Reigns some years ago. I think it was like 2023 for the Ula Fala and the title. So that SummerSlam, their match was Tribal Combat. Now, here's what was weird. When they initially established Tribal Combat, one of the stipulations was that no family members were allowed to intervene in the match. So it was only Roman Reigns and Jey Uso who could interfere, who could fight each other. Like, no Solo, no nothing else. But then, like, when the event happened, or like right before, they kind of just backtracked on that whole point. So when we got to the match, Solo Sikoa was interfering left and right in Tribal Combat. And the whole match ended with Jimmy Uso costing Jey in a decision I still hate to this day. So it's kind of weird. Like, the Usos were being interviewed backstage, and I think the interviewer asked them, like, what does Tribal Combat mean? And Jey Uso's talking about, like, how vicious and brutal it was when when you think about it, the man who's standing right next to you cost you in tribal combat years ago, and you didn't think about bringing that up. I don't know. I feel like tribal combat should bring up some bad memories for Jey Uso because of what happened, and you're currently standing next to your brother. I guess we forgot about that. Come on, Triple H. At least LA Knight returned to bring some clarity to it all because, I mean, Roman and the Usos are acting as the heels. They really are when you think about it. I mean, they're going to be cheered because they're beloved, and Jacob's not being booed either. Like, it's kind of similar to Roman and Punk. Like, they're just both going to be cheered. They're both baby faces. They're both loved by the crowd. So, I guess no one's going to be the heel, but I mean, Roman and the Usos just did a 3-on-1 attack on Jacob. The Usos have no problem with Roman cheating to win against Jacob. I don't even think Adam Pearce has a problem with that. Like, Roman Reigns exposed the turnbuckle, which is illegal, threw Jacob into that turnbuckle, and the Usos don't care. The Usos have like CTE or something. I don't know. Like, Jey Uso forgot about what happened the last time in Tribal Combat that he was in, and the Usos. First off, Roman never apologized to the Usos, and the Usos, they're becoming the Usos of old, which LA Knight's there to remind them, like, you're becoming what you were before. You're no different than, like, the Vision right now. So at least they're aware of it. I like that. They're aware of the fact that, yeah, they're all baby faces, but they're acting very similar to how they were before, and that's a problem. So, in terms of Tribal Combat, though, I'm not going to predict this week. I'll predict next week. I hope the Usos don't get involved. Because, I mean, then, like, they really are heels at that point. If Roman needs the Usos to beat Jacob, then Roman loses all credibility, and I think he's a heel. Because at least Roman won the title on his own against CM Punk. And he beat Jacob Fatu on his own. Yeah, he used dirty tactics, but he won on his own. He didn't need the Usos to come out and help him. So I hope that continues to be the trend with Roman, because if Roman does need help, then he really becomes a heel again at that point. So hopefully the Usos don't get involved in Tribal Combat. Hopefully there is a decisive winner. We'll predict that next week. The other match that got announced for Clash in Italy, this Italy card's insane so far. 3 matches that could be Mania matches. Brock Lesnar returned. I did not think he was retiring. It was too ambiguous, and SummerSlam is still the perfect location for him to retire in. It still is. It's where he lives. It's the perfect location for Brock Lesnar to retire in Minneapolis. So I was not shocked that he returned. I was shocked when he returned. I did not expect it to be now for Brock Lesnar to return and attack Obafemi. So it seems like we're getting the rematch between Brock Lesnar and Obafemi. We'll predict it next week, but it is interesting. It screams trilogy to me. It screams trilogy because I don't think he's going to retire in Italy. Like, if he loses again to Obafemi, I don't see Brock doing another retirement angle again. But I don't know. It screams Brock Lesnar wins and they do a third match, maybe at SummerSlam or somewhere else. Maybe it's a last man standing match. Like, because I thought their Mania match was perfect for what it was, but you can't do that 2 more times. So I feel like a last man standing match is like dying to happen, which would be an incredible SummerSlam main event. Maybe we're leading to that. And maybe that's where Brock walks out. So maybe Gunther's not even going to retire Brock at this point. So, screams trilogy, but I don't think Obafemi would win all 3 matches. It'd be cool if Obafemi stayed undefeated. But, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But, it's intriguing. It really is. We'll predict it next week. Now, Saturday Night Main Event predictions. No world title match. So, it makes me think, Penta's on the poster. Ethan Page versus Penta, the main event. I don't hate it. I'd think it'd be that or the Vision versus the Street Profits. I think one of those 2 will be the main event, but we're going to go in the order that I wrote it, but we're going to go in reverse. Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruca. Becky Lynch is the Intercontinental Champion, but the title is not on the line in this matchup, so I'm taking Sol Ruca. For that simple fact alone, I think Sol Ruca will win the match. So I'm going to highlight Sol. Nope, I don't want to do that highlight. I want to do a different highlight. I have Sol Ruca winning. The Street Profits versus the Vision. I could see the Street Profits win. I could. Because if you're going to bring them back, make them legitimate. I don't think the Vision need the tag titles. I really don't think they do. I mean, they can win them back, but I think you should make the Street Profits a little more legit and have them win the tag titles. So I'm going to say, I mean, for a show like Saturday Night's Main Event that isn't really jumping off the charts, you can have a big moment here with the Profits winning. So I'm going to say the Street Profits win here. Unless they do the whole angle where, like, on it, because they're teasing dissension with the Profits right now, with Seth Rollins in the mix. Honestly, I change it to the Vision. I think there's going to be some shenanigans or some dissension with the Profits. So as much as I think the Profits should win, I think the Vision will win. Paige and Bree versus Lash Legend and Nia Jax. I don't know. This kind of came out. I thought they already fought. I thought this matchup already happened on SmackDown. I thought Paige and Bree already won. This is a lame matchup. In terms of who I think will win, if you're running it back, I think Lash and Nia win. I don't know. Maybe Nikki returns here and costs Paige and Bree. I'll say Lash and Nia, but this doesn't really excite me. 6-woman tag. We got Team Rhea versus Team Jade. That's how I'm just going to write it for prediction. But I think this could go either way. Can Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa coexist against Jade's team with her, B-Fab, and Michin? I feel like Team Jade will win to just set up a Rhea Jade rematch that could happen in Italy. I would not be mad of it. So I'm going to say Jade's team wins to set up the Rhea Ripley Jade Cargill rematch. The main event, potentially, Ethan Page versus Penta. Really like Ethan Page. He's in his mid-30s, so he's kind of in his prime years right now. So I wouldn't be shocked if he won the title. My only question would be, is it too early for him to win the title? Because he just got called up. He's only wrestled like 2 matches, so I wonder if it's too early for Ethan Page to win the title against Penta. And I really thought, too, like Penta's reign was only getting started right now. And like that's why I had him winning at WrestleMania. So if he were to lose it right away, I'd be shocked. So a bit of me thinks, honestly, I'm going to say Penta retains. I could see them easily do a fatal 4-way at a future show. Could be Italy, could be somewhere else. Penta, Ethan Page, Rusev, Javon Evans, and I could maybe see Ethan Page win it then in a fatal 4-way scenario so he doesn't pin the champion. It's kind of how he won the NXT title in NXT in a fatal 4-way match. Really clever ending. I think that match had Trick and Javon in that match. Check it out if you're bored. But Ethan Page won similarly there. So I'm going to say Ethan Page wins in a match like that, but Penta wins this match and retains. So those are my predictions for Saturday night's main event. We'll see how much are right and wrong. Next week, we'll predict Clash in Italy. Already 3 fantastic matches there. Can't wait for that. Next week, we'll talk everything that's happening in round 3 of the NHL and NBA playoffs. More Pirates discussion, some WNBA talk as well. Don't know if there'll be anything new with the NFL, but we'll see. But next week, there'll be another episode. I'm back on track, so episodes will start dropping weekly every Tuesday or Wednesday. Carlin might be back at some point. Don't know yet. He's still on hiatus, but we'll see. Follow socials as always. But other than that, thank you all for listening to this episode. Also, check out The Final Verdict this week on The Final Verdict. That's our movie and TV podcast. It's in the link in bio if you want to check that out. But this week on that podcast, the Boys series finale is on Wednesday. So that episode will drop on Wednesday. So my thoughts on The Boys season 5, the series finale. That episode's dropping tomorrow, hopefully. The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out this weekend, so I might see that and review that as well. So check those out. That's this week on The Final Verdict. But other than that, I am John Dodaro. Have a great day, everybody, and see you next time on Inside the Dome.